Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Patricia here, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. And going to show you one more Christmas card. I just can't resist. I keep making them. But this one's really kind of cool. Now, this one is a little more involved. Okay, I can't resist. I have to show it to you. It's got a fair bit of die cutting, but it's just a cool card. When you receive the card, or when the recipient gets the card, they open it up. It's got a window here, and it's just simple in a way, but it just looks so fun. Now, I have raised these poinsettias, however you want to say it, up a fair bit. They're pretty 3D, three-dimensional. But it's just a cool card. It's pretty simple, like I said, but it does have a fair bit of die cutting. And I made quite a number of them. And we are going to get started. So, first of all, in the mini catalog, on page, the current mini catalog, July to December, and it will end here at the end of December. So if there's anything out of here that you are looking for, you might want to get that sooner rather than later. But this one of them is on page 43, the Merriest Moments bundle. This is one of those hybrid, and I'll show you bits and pieces of it here, hybrid stamp sets. And these are the parts and pieces. Now, what this does is a hybrid does both embossing and cutting. And I've seen quite a number of demonstrators that say that they're really hesitant to put these together. No, that's why they were created this way. You are supposed to put them together. And actually, this die sort of just about locks in. See, it gets its little position and it locks in. So it's going to cut it. Now let me show you kind of the versions of this, if you will. Hold on one sec. I should have had this on top. So if you cut it without, or emboss it, excuse me, without the die. The die. If you emboss it, here's the embossing folder. If you just put it in there and emboss it, you're going to get this stunning. It truly is just absolutely stunning. It's got some snowflakes around the edge. It's got the holly, the greenery, just an amazing piece there. Then, if you do it with the die, this die, so you open your die up, you slip this in, and it just sort of locks in. Put your piece of paper on. Now, I will tell you this. The piece of paper, and of course I do not have one right here with me, but if you put your piece of paper on here, you do need to watch and make sure, because it just almost exactly lines up. If you look at this, right on the edge and right on the edge. So it's very, very close. So you put it in there and cut it. And this is what you're going to get. Okay? So you can see it there. Gorgeous. Well, then there's another die. That's this one, that if you put on top of this, whoops, you have to put it on there, going in the right direction. And again, it will just slip right in. And then run that through, then you get this. And this is actually the one that we are going to use today. And it shows so much of the cardstock behind it. You can either put a sentiment right here like this. You can punch a hole in the front like we are going to do here today. Punch a hole in the front. And, or you can cut out the center. Okay, so let's put this on there like it's intended to be. So that's how we would cut it out. And then you can put this die, you might as well do it all in one step. It doesn't hurt it at all. And what I do is I have purple tape, and I just take just a piece, and I even sometimes put it on my skin and make it a little less tacky, although it is a low tack tape. Line this up just exactly where I want it, like that, and tape the two together. I'm not really having much, if any, tape hit my paper. Now, it's not going to, it's not the end of the world if it does. But again, just sort of give it a little bit of movement there. Make sure that it's all lined up, and then do the opposite corner as well. Then run this through, and this is what you get. Okay, so we're going to do that, but let's look at how to make this card. Okay, so, and then these are the parts and pieces. Now, we are not using this poinsettia or even any of these other dies, but they are there. They're gorgeous, beautiful. I love them. By the way, this is called Merriest Frames Hybrid Embossing Folder, and so that's what I started to tell you, and that was on page, what was it, 47? 40 something. It wasn't 47, 40. Well, here it is. Okay, Merriest Moments 43. Okay, so this is the mini catalog that is going away, so be aware of that. Some of the items in here have been discounted. Some of them are already gone as of this date. What are we, at the 10th or so of December? Okay, this is the other catalog, the annual catalog, and in this one, we are going to use the Poinsettia Petals. So that's on page 92. This catalog still goes till the end of April. By the way, if you do not have a demonstrator and therefore do not have catalogs, this is the new mini catalog that I cannot show you the inside of, but it goes from January 4th to the end of June. And then this is Celebration, and this will be again January 4th until the end of February. Now this is all the free items. I almost opened that. But that is the free items that you can earn when you buy things from this catalog or the other catalog that goes to the end of June. Okay, enough on the catalogs. By the way, if you enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up. Share the video. Subscribe down below if you would do that as well. It just helps me sort of spread the word and let people know that I'm here. Okay, this is, I've already put some of these poinsettias on blocks, so we're going to look at those here in just a moment. In here, there's a whole lot, really great sentiments. 3 sizes of the poinsettia. I'm only going to do 2 for you. But they're easy to do. So these 3 poinsettias, now they're really small here on the front. This is definitely not the size. This is the medium poinsettia, and this one you can see is the medium that's pictured. So here's how we do this though. We are going to take a cardstock. I've actually already done these 2, but I'm going to show you what I did so I can show you how to color it, etc. And we're going to take our Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Oh, sorry, my table's rocking. And stamp that out. Give it a good press. Let it have contact with the paper so that that ink transfers. I'm going to take this off of the back. Okay, and then we're going to, this is the medium poinsettia. So I'm just going to give you an idea of how I color these because you don't want to watch me color. But what I do for this particular card, I used, here it is, Cherry Cobbler. And anytime you buy the blends, the Stampin' Blends, these are alcohol inks. They come 2 in a set, a light and a dark. Okay, and I do start with the light first, and there's 2 ends as well. There's the paintbrush end and the I got to get that lid on there. There we go. And the finer point end or chisel end. And I just this is how I always use the blends. I start with the light. I shouldn't say always, but most of the time. I start with the light. I color whatever it is that I'm working on. And this is a very soothing activity. If I'm sitting watching YouTube videos and not actually needing to do anything, you know, like creating the cards that they're making or whatever, then I will color. And I'm not a colorer. I know you've heard me say that before if you've watched my videos, but I have come to love it. So anyway, I would color the whole petal. Then I take my dark. Now this time I am going to go with the chisel end. And I'm just going to go over the lines that the artist have given us. Okay? So I do a little bit of that. I come back, do the next one, next leaf. In this case, I'm not doing a lot. I'm not even worrying if I go just the tiniest little bit out of lines. I am not worried about it at all. Then I'm going to take my, in this case, Daffodil Delight, and it doesn't matter whether you use the chisel end or the paintbrush end because it's such a small space, but I'm going to color the center of that, and then I'm going to cut them out. So I've got these two cut out. So I'm not going to, like I said, color the whole thing. You don't want to sit here and watch me do that. I'm going to take my dimensionals. I just found one on the back of this one. How funny. And I am going to put, oh, I had stamped another thing on the back of that. And I'm just going to put that dimensional in there, take off the backing. I live in a tiny village, very, very, very dry in way North Alaska, about 20 miles south of the Arctic Circle. And it is so dry here that static electricity is a really big deal. Okay, and I'm going to offset it and put it on there. Okay, now when I do my big poinsettia on the back of this, I offset it as well. But what I do to them is I take my bone folder and I just give these a little bit of a curl. It doesn't take much, just a little bit. Now the big one, I ran my bone folder this direction. The top two, I do it up. And it gives it, I don't know if you can, oh yeah, you can see it like this. See how it gives it such dimension. Now, a lot of that dimension is going to go away if I put it in the mail, okay? So I realize that, so it's almost overdone. But if I hand these cards to someone, which I will be doing on these, then they're not going to lose much of that dimension. They'll lose some because I'm going to put them in envelopes, but all I'm doing, now I should have done this before I put them together, but you get the idea. And then behind it, I put a couple of the leaves and then one of the cutouts. Now let me show you those. So they're in the same Poinsettia Petals set. And let's see, I did this one. This die cuts out this. And I stamped and cut out the, hold on. Oh, I'm missing that die. I didn't put it back in here. So there's another leaf die. Also, something I meant to point out is there's these center dies. You could put texture on these leaves. Now, I did not. With any of these that I did not put texture in the middle of those, but you could. Another thing to point out, let me put that one back in there so I don't lose it, and is that these are not symmetrical. For one, they're 5 leaves, so it's kind of a little hard to be symmetrical. But if I go to try and put this together, there's only one way that they are going to fit. So if you rotate this, it's all, no, that doesn't fit. You know, if I go over here, no, that doesn't fit. You have to put it exactly the way that it is supposed to be in order for it all to fit in there. So what you can do is take a marker and mark one tip of the petal, as well as one tip of your stamp. Now, you want to make sure, of course, that it lines up and you get it the correct direction, but then just kind of lift it up and put a little mark on there. Now, I personally didn't feel that I needed to do that. I sort of feel I like putting the puzzle together, if you will. It's kind of a, feels like putting together a puzzle. And so I am wiping this on my chamois to get the ink off, because I am going to go ahead and put this back, the stamp back in the case. And I don't even care if it matches up on there. Where is my other stamp? It's here. Oh, here it is. I'll wash it as well. Okay. And hello. My space is very, very small. I'm here in my school classroom, and there's nobody in the building, so it doesn't bother me one bit. I said I don't match it up, and then I'm trying to match it up. It doesn't matter. So put that in there, put that away. Okay, we're good to go. Now, let's start working at putting this card together. So, as I said, behind the bigger poinsettia leaves or petals, I did not put a dimensional, but I did put a dimensional between the medium and the small. Okay? And then I just glued on the back of that, the leaves, and that one little sprig here. Okay? So, there we go. All right, let's get our, where's my card? Here it is, card base. Okay, so let me get some of these out of the way. There we go. Whoops, I don't want to get rid of my bone folder. There we go. All right, so in my Stampin' Trimmer, I am going to, with the long the paper going along this way, I'm going to go to 4 1/4. That is half of 8 1/2. And, oops, I'm going to move my cutter out of the way, and I'm going to take my scorer, and I'm just going to score that. Okay. Then when I cut it, and so I'm on the 11 1/2 side this time, I'm going to go to 5 1/2. That's half of 11. And this time I'm going to cut it. Now, when I do that, I automatically have two card bases that are already scored. Do you have to do it that way? No. And as a matter of fact, most of the time I don't. But I was trying to cut down on steps. So what I'm going to do now, I'm taking that tape off, because what I want to do is take my background piece here, and what I do, I've got this all cut out, ready to go. I'm going to place it on the front. Notice I've got my little piece that's going to cut this out. Okay, I've just laid it on there. Now, what I'm doing is cutting this window. I'm cutting this window right here. As long as you have this placed on there about where you want it, it doesn't have to be terribly precise, but what I do is sort of put it on there, get it about where I want it. I've got it lined up, and then I just remove this, and I look at this, and it's like, that's just a little bit crooked. I'm going to move it just a little bit. Then open it up, okay, before I put it on my, hold on, let me get my Stampin', Cut, and Emboss machine. I wasn't really going to show you this part, but it does make a huge difference. I'm going to lift this up, the camera up, so close your eyes if that's going to make you dizzy. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do, put my cardstock on there. Notice I have it open, and I'm going to put it about in the center. Now let me grab my front piece just so I can make sure that's where I really wanted it. Close to that, right there. Hope you can see that. I think you can. Okay, it's lined up, looks good. I'm going to put the front on there and roll it through. Got too many things in the way on my desktop here. Hold on one sec. There we go. And roll it through. Okay, there we are. I'm going to get this out of the way now. By the way, this is layered up with 1, 2, it's backwards, 2, 3, and this is my cut plate, and this is my do not cut plate, but they are both 3. You turn these 3s over and back and forth and up and down and all kinds of stuff when you're using it every time. Because that then allows those to wear a little more evenly. All right, so I'm going to take my window out. Now this has, if you can see that, it has stitching on there. So I want to keep that and use it for something. I could put that stitching back in there behind instead of using the white that I'm going to use. I hope I have my white. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so when I cut this was the piece that came out. I saved that because I'm going to put my sentiment on it. All right, now I'm going to put this on the front. So I go to the back of my piece and I'm going to put just a dab of glue along the edges. And I don't know if you can see it, but I'm just barely putting a little, I'm barely pressing on this. And then I'm just going to put a dot here and there. It is well raised, so there's lots of depth to this. That embossing is just so beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to put enough glue on there to attach everything and just little dabs. Okay, then when I'm done with that, I'm going to turn it over. Now, this is kind of the fun part. You got to line this up. So I hold it like this and line it up before I push down. And then I'll push down and let everything attach. Doesn't that just look so cool? Okay, we're going to let that dry a little bit, and we're going to take our sentiment piece, and I am using Merry Merlot. I'm going to take my block, and I've got Merry Christmas. Now you'll notice that here I have a Merry and Christmas because of the size of the window and the poinsettia that's taking up so much of that window. So what I'm going to do is open this up, and I'm just going to stamp the Merry. Okay, I'm not even getting anything on my Christmas, and I can make sure that if there's nothing there, but all I'm doing is stamping Merry. Now, I know because I've already sort of placed it on there, but I want it right about there. And what I did is I had put it in the window with my poinsettia here, about like that, so that I could see where my sentiment needed to be. Then I'm going to clean this. So I'm going to go back to my scrub here, my chamois, get all that ink off, make sure it's off. Yep. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to my ink pad. Whoosh, got ink on there. I'm going to go back to my ink pad, and because I can see it, this is just on the edge, and I want to make sure that I'm getting good ink. And now put it right under the C under the M. There we go. And there's my sentiment. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stamp that off and get some, scrub it again. Okay, close this before I get any more ink on anything. And now, back here, I'm going to, with my card, I'm going to make sure, yep, everything's fitting. You know, just in case I picked up the wrong thing or something, who knows. It's been known to happen. Okay, put a little bit of glue on there. I'm going to hold it. It should fit exactly in that space because I cut it out of there. Okay, then open it up. Make sure it presses all down. Take my glue. I'm not putting glue here. Do not put glue on the back of your poinsettia. It's too hard to match it up. But what you want to do is put your glue on here. And because some of it's going to go down in spaces, you know, you can see I have a fair bit of glue on there. Not a lot maybe, but a fair bit. Okay. Then I want to make sure that all of this comes to the inside. I don't really want anything to go very much outside the perimeter of that card, and then push it down. I want to hold it for a second, make sure that glue, I'm not worried about it flattening out. It might a little bit. I want to open it, make sure nothing went through, and there we go. So where do you write your own greeting on this card? You can write it around the edge here. Or something that's kind of nice about this kind of card is there's not a lot of space. You could even actually write up here, although I wouldn't suggest that because of the depth of this. But it doesn't give you a whole lot of space, and if you're one of those that doesn't like to write a lot, you're covered. All right, cute, cute card. I hope you enjoyed that one. Does take a little bit of work. It is definitely not a quickly done card, but as you can see, I've made quite a number of them. I just loved it. And it did not take long, truthfully, to make all of these oh, I didn't even finish that one. All of these poinsettias. It went very, very quickly, much quicker than I thought it would. Actually, I did some of it while my kids were testing. I just was watching the classroom and coloring. Kind of a fun thing to do. All right, now the only thing left to do is to create our envelope. And you know how I am about that. I like to put something. I don't want to send a naked envelope. So, of course, I am not seeing my, oh, here it is. Not seeing my stamp set, so I'm going to come back in here. I am going to pull that smallest poinsettia, or poinsettia, like I said, however you want to call it, out of there. Put it on my block, and I'm going to go ahead with the Mary Merlot. It's just pretty. Gives that Christmassy kind of color. And there we go. Nice. Now, I could also, and I might as well, since I'm at it, put, here we go, my, let's clean this off and take it off of this, off of there. Put it on here. And the problem is I don't have my green. Oh, by the way, I meant to tell you, I did use Evening Evergreen. Let me grab my Evening Evergreen. Eeks. So sorry about that. Woo! I did put Evening Evergreen for my leaves on here. They're barely visible, but they are there. Okay, so let's, I think we'll do this. And there we go. Oh yeah, I like that. I might even